Hi guys, it's Danny. Okay, so today we will be repotting a Pendant Dendrobium. Usually the Pendant Dendrobiums are species and they tend to grow really thin and long canes which have a tendency to droop down. This is more comfortable for them and it's better to grow them like this rather than to stake them up, because staking will actually need a pretty long stake, as you can see, and most probably will not be very stable. It's just gonna be a mess. Plus, it's really nice to have a pendant cane full of flowers when it's time to bloom. Now, there are various ways of actually potting these dendrobiums. Many people like to use the upside down pot, which means a pot which lets the orchid come from the bottom of the pot and actually grow downwards. Other people use wooden baskets and let the dendrobiums grow sideways, let's say. And other people like to just mount them on slabs or pieces of wood and so on. It really boils down to your preference and your conditions and your lifestyle and of course what appeals to you. Maybe some people don't like to mount their orchids. So the way to grow them will absolutely depend on you and your preference in your environment. For me, the most comfortable way is to actually keep them in pots. But like with all techniques, this has a really huge disadvantage. When the orchid grows and becomes pretty top heavy, the orchid will actually start to come out of the pot, making the roots grow in the air. Now, this can be a hassle if you want to keep this orchid hydrated, and during growth season, this orchid requires a lot of water, so this was my problem. But today I thought of something. We'll actually be repotting another dendrobium, a smaller one, and I'll show you what I came up with to keep the dendrobium stable in its pot. Okay, so today we'll be repotting the Pierardi dendrobium, also known as the aphyllum. The flowers have dropped, so it's a pretty good time to repot this guy since it's starting to grow a brand new shoot right here. So of course we're gonna start off by unpotting it from its old pot. Squeeze the pot gently and try to pull it up at the same time, gently. Dispose of the old media because it might be broken down and clean off the roots as best as you can. Now, you know my routine. I actually like to wash the orchid and also disinfect the root system. This is not a new orchid, so I know I don't have any snails, but just in case I have any rotting going on, I do like to sterilize the root system with hydrogen peroxide 3%. So I will go and clean my orchid and I will come back when it's time to repot. Okay, so my orchid is fizzing away in the hydrogen peroxide right now. I cleaned it as best as I could. There are still a few pieces of bark, but I don't mind them. I would have destroyed the root system if I would have messed around too much with them. So the pot I will be using is something like this. It is especially created to be hanged. I intend to keep this orchid hanged. Now, usually I use clear plastic pots, but I am experimented enough to not use clear plastic pots because I kind of know when I need to water. Also in nature, this type of orchid has a monsoon period in the growing season, which is summer. This means that it gets a ton of water almost every day, if not every day. So it can handle constant moisture at the root system. It's actually beneficial as long as the orchid and the roots are ventilated. So I will use something like this, and along with it, I will use only bark media. Whatever pieces of sphagnum you see here, they're not intentional, they're leftovers. I will only try to pick the bark media. This is not fine bark, it's pretty medium to large size bark, so it will be very ventilated. In my summertime, it will probably dry out within 2 days. So I'm really not worried of overwatering this orchid and rotting the root system. If, however, you are a beginner or you simply feel so comfortable with clear plastic pots, use clear plastic pots. There's no trouble. For me, I kind of like the looks of this pot right now, so that's what I'm gonna use. Now, the big problem will be how to make this orchid stay in the pot, because with watering and in time as the orchid grows and the pseudobulbs get larger and larger and becomes top heavy, it will start to come out of the pot, and you saw my example with the other dendrobium. Now, there are a few ways to stabilize this orchid in the pot. Many of you already use those metal clips that attach to the sides of the pot. The thing is, I don't have them available in my area, and personally, I would never use metal with any type of plant, and I'll show you on the screen right now. This is footage from the other dendrobium that I have. It's the anosmum. As you can see, I used some metal wire, and strangely enough, it is the type of wire that is used for flowers. This is the brand. It is called flower wire. I thought it was safe for plants. It is not safe for plants. so there is no way metal ever touches any of my orchids. Instead of using metal though, I will use something biodegradable, non-toxic, and really cute, which is raffia wire. Now raffia wire degrades in time, so after 1 or 2 years it might be degraded and might not hold the orchid, but by then the orchid would have produced enough roots to attach itself to the pot and the media and so on. So I'll show you how I'm going to use the raffia wire. So I have a piece of the raffia wire. What I'm going to do is split it into 2 equal parts, and I will try to place this raffia wire somehow around the base of my orchid so it keeps it. I was thinking of actually making a knot, but really there's no need to do this. All I need is for this wire to cling to the plant and actually hold it in place. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place the orchid inside the pot, and I will try to find the drainage holes in this pot. And I'm not sure if I can film this, but I will try to stick the ends of the wire through the holes on the bottom. So I will try to do this now, and I'll show you how it should look like. Alrighty, so this is what I meant. As you can see, the wire goes around my orchid and actually comes through the bottom of the pot. And what we're gonna do here is make a little knot. But before we make this knot, I would just like to fill this pot with media just to arrange my orchid properly in the pot, so I know how much I should lift it or drag it down and so on. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna place media in the pot. So as I said, I will try to keep this orchid in the place where I would like it to sit. And after the media is in, I'll try to arrange it a little bit more with the wire. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay, so this is pretty much how it should look like. If 1 or 2 roots are still sticking out, that's no big deal. The most important thing is that not all roots stick out, because you will have a hard time keeping the orchid hydrated. So now I'll make a tie right here so that this plant is not going anywhere. And there we have it. This is the finished result. I can assure you this orchid is not going anywhere. And actually you can barely see the raffia wire right here. So I hope you found this useful. As I said, you can actually use any type of pot that you like. If you want to use a clear pot, go ahead and use a clear pot and so on. But I definitely recommend to you that you don't use metal with your orchids. Maybe some metals do not affect plants in general, but some which are advertised to be for plants obviously affect plants, and I'm really hoping I can save that new growth that has been almost rotten by that metal there. So okay, thank you guys for joining. Hope you found this useful. If you want to see more videos from me, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have questions for me or suggestions for videos, just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. And if you just want to stay in touch with me and see my pictures with orchids and so on, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I will see you next time. Bye bye.